Maersk is instructing any ships heading for the southern entrance of the Red Sea to halt their voyages. And remember, this comes after an attack on one of its vessels, and it's the latest in a continued attacks within the Red Sea. So let's get some more on this with Hagar Chemali, former Middle East director at the National Security Council at the White House. Hagar, good to see you. What do you think is going on in the Red Sea? How does this evolve?
Well, basically, this is all Iran trying to cause troubles and trying to make its message that they're against what's happening in Israel without starting a full-on war. They're letting its proxy, the Houthis in Yemen, do it instead. So right after October 7th, the Houthis in Yemen declared war against Israel. They did it with a flashy music video. No, I am not kidding. I say that world news is never boring, which it isn't. They did this music video by declaring war on Israel, and they started launching drone missiles, drone attacks, and long-range cruise missiles at Israel, which the U.S. were able to intercept because of the ships that they have, the vessels that they have stationed at the Red Sea. So it was a surprise, certainly to the Pentagon, but at the same time, it's not surprising given the Houthi capabilities. It's easy to dismiss them because it feels a little bit absurd and ridiculous, and it is, except that they do actually have capabilities to launch these attacks from where they are, which is relatively far. So now they've taken it to the Red Sea and said that they're going to attack any vessels that are Israeli flagged, or Israeli owned, and now it's expanded to commercial vessels, and it's posed a great risk to these vessels, some of which where they've had militants board the vessels themselves. And so the decision from Maersk doesn't surprise me. I expect it only, unfortunately, I expect others to take similar decisions. But this all stems at Israel-Gaza.
If you look at the market's response, oil, for example, is still down. It didn't rally on it. There doesn't seem to really be any war risk premium being built in. I wonder if you think this does represent the possibility of escalation, or if what's happening is really just a concern. Obviously, I don't mean to downplay it, but more of a commercial concern than a bigger one on escalation on the geopolitical stage.
I would look at this as though they're troublemakers. And troublemakers do pose a threat, of course, because they have real guns, they have real missiles. They're, in some cases, boarding real vessels. And that's not new to shipping firms like Maersk in particular, right? They've dealt with that in the Horn of Africa in the past with piracy. But it is a threat, surely, to commercial vessels. It is a threat to stability in the region, of which there's very little right now, but it is a threat to the region. However, I also wouldn't see it as something that would expand into a regional war. And the reason for that is because at the end of the day, Iran is trying to cause trouble. They're trying to they're trying to destabilize the region without goading the United States into an actual war, because that would actually end up being bad for Iran. Iran couldn't go to war with the United States. They'd never win that. And so that's what they're trying to do with this. Given what's happening in Israel, they're trying to make their message made by poking a dragon, if you will. But so while it's a real threat that needs to be taken very seriously, I also don't see it evolving into something very widespread.
Hagar, we may not know the answer to this yet, but for vessels that are still going to be in the area, can they get insurance for that? And if not, what happens? And if they're not in the Red Sea, like, where do they go? And then does that drive up actual, like, shipping costs? Like, what are the granularities of this that nerdy people like us need to pay attention to?
Well, so long as the ships don't have anything to do with carrying sanctioned goods or being tied to a sanctioned entity or perhaps taking goods to a sanctioned place or anything like that, then they should be able to get insurance, and that should be able to be financed, and it shouldn't have a problem. Now listen, I'm not an insurance company myself. I would imagine that the premium might go up at this moment because of how risky this is, and that's likely why also Maersk is saying, hey, you know what, it's for the safety of our crew members. It's for the safety of our clients that we're going to be taking this long detour around Africa in order to continue shipping our goods. But that said, I wouldn't see a problem in that respect. It's only if it has anything to do with sanctioned individuals or companies, and which doesn't seem to be the case here.